Welcome to the ninth section. So a lot of people don't really talk about Young M.A in terms of successful independent artists, and I think her story is quite interesting. She's a Brooklyn artist, one of the very first gay rappers to really make a wave in the late 2010s. 2016 was the year when she really blew up in the scene with an absolute smash hit called Ooh, and she's had a steady, consistent career since. Now, for context, she's been rapping a long while before the Ooh track. In multiple interviews, she recounts writing as a child and 50 Cent being one of her biggest influences when it comes to rapping. She also notes that her late older brother, Kenneth, was one of her biggest supporters in her early years, and the reason why she goes so hard today. According to Young M.A, her brother passed from being killed by one of his own friends, and if you didn't know, he was a gang member, which could be one of the reasons why she has her team called Red Life, though not being a gang member herself, but to honor her brother in that way. This could also explain one of the reasons why she moves the way she moves, not really being in the mix and rubbing shoulders with too many industry people. She said in a sit-down interview with The Therapist on Noisy back in 2019, and this is not verbatim, but as she watches the way that people move before giving the person or people 100% of herself. And this may just have always been a character trait that she's had, but could also mean due to personal experiences and even the circumstances of her brother's death with his own quote-unquote friend who ended his life. I mean, it can make anyone very untrusting of people or very wary of certain energies. Since the death of her brother, she's carried the torch and has taken the responsibility of taking care of her family, particularly her mother, younger sister, and grandmother. In terms of her music career, one of the very first freestyles she posted on YouTube was her remix to Meek Mill's Levels back in 2013. And with posting these freestyles, she slowly started amassing a fan base locally. Her first claim to online fame, let's call it, was with her Chirac freestyle that she dropped in 2014.
So you got on the map with your freestyle to Chirac.
Yeah.
How was it coming up with that and receiving such a big audience from it?
Right. It's crazy because my intentions with the freestyle wasn't as big as it became. Like I just was doing it. You know what I mean? I actually wasn't gonna do the freestyle. It was just something that people kept telling me to do, like, you know, do this, because I was always doing freestyles before. But I guess this particular one kind of put me in a different zone, and it's like almost into a blackout mode. I could have kept writing. I could have kept going if I wanted to, you understand? So it was one of those freestyles that was actually probably one of my most.
But what makes the Chirac freestyle particularly interesting is that it really blew up after some controversy. Dr. Boyce Watkins came across the video and had his 2 cents to say on a Facebook post where he said, quote, "The saddest thing about watching a woman rap like this is that I wonder, A, what kind of trauma has our society imposed on this poor child to make her think that this is normal behavior? She's rapping like a serial killer. B, I wonder why whatever adult who signed her is encouraging her to send violent, negative, genocidal energy into the community that may get her killed and is killing her own people. As a fan of hip hop, I could say that her vocals are nice and the beat is amazing. If I were to sign her, I would encourage her to use talent in a way that will empower her rather than destroy her. She doesn't need a record deal. She needs love, therapy, and an opportunity." End quote. Now, this post, no matter where you stand on the topic of violent themes in music, made the video go viral, and it sparked what would be the real beginning of Young M.A's independent career. Catalog and craft. Young M.A's catalog includes 2 mixtapes, which were both released in 2015, 2 EPs, the first one titled Her Story, which dropped in 2017, which includes the single Ooh, and the EP Red Flu, which dropped in 2020. And finally, she's also released 2 albums, her debut, which is titled Her Story in the Making, which dropped in 2019, and Off the Yak, which dropped in 2021, and a series of singles, freestyles, and remixes she dropped since her breakthrough, more notably singles like Walk or her remix to Blueface's Tatiana. Now, when listening to her song lyrics, it's not anything necessarily different from what her male counterparts would say, but what I like to point out is her style in general. Musically, she tends to lean towards more trap, and obviously the common themes of trap are usually money, women, and violence. Though she does have some songs like Angels vs. Demons as an example, where we get a more introspective side lyrically, where she talks of her come up and some of the struggles she still goes through despite having reached such high levels of success. And with Young M.A overall, she's not necessarily the most lyrical rapper in terms of any complex rhymes or rhyme schemes, at least in her more popular songs, but she's very punchline heavy with her bars. And what I think people gravitate to mainly when it comes to her music is the cadence, the feeling, the finesse, and the ease in how she raps. It seems very effortless, and not to mention her tone, which just in general sounds good on a record. And she has a very good ear for beats and what complements her style. And she's even gotten props and a feature from one of the GOATs, Eminem.
I kind of started following her a little bit, and then it was like I started watching every video she put out.
Right.
And I was more so like intrigued by her persona, like
Right.
how like she just carries herself like a star, right?
Right.
Like she's just like charisma, right?
Right.
But she also had the bars, and I was like, man, like this is like she's really got bars. Like so then I just went down the wormhole of like the Eat freestyle she did.
Right.
And then she did Flex, and how she was just calm, murdering it on Flex,
Yeah.
right? But she barely even raised her
sweat.
voice.
Independent hustle.
Hey, listen, this is really what it is. You
Nah,
what
I
mean?
know.
But what made me stay independent, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just more so like control. Just having that control over me, man. You know, I just did my research since a youngin', bro. I paid attention to everything. Since a young, I studied this game, bro. And certain things I know I ain't good with. Certain things I know I'm all right with. And that's just what it is. And I feel like if I already got myself in a position, why not keep going? You know what I mean? Why have somebody else take that control? Why somebody else take over that journey that I done already built?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In a sense. Not saying that, that's why I always say I'm not saying I would never sign to a label. I'm not against labels, bro. It's not like labels versus independent type vibes. I just choose to be independent. It's not like I'm trying to battle the labels, but at the end of the day, if I do decide to sign to any type of label.
In terms of business, she's probably one of the smartest rappers out there, and I put her in the same bucket as a Russ. And a great example of success being an independent artist. The only difference here is that Russ did sign with Columbia for a short while, and obviously this was a strategic move on Russ's part, as during that time he had all the leverage in the world in terms of having his own fan base, management, and touring that was already on lock. Now it was just a matter of scaling to the masses by hitting radio as an example. Young M.A, on the other hand, has stayed independent since the beginning. As you heard in the clip, she has nothing against signing with a label, meaning that this might be something that she does in the future, but for right now she finds that the smartest thing to do is play the long-term game and really solidify herself. And in my opinion, she has already done so. So I guess we will see what the future holds for Young M.A in terms of penning any deals with any major labels. And as a side note, she did sign a publishing deal back in 2019 with Reservoir. I'm not 100% sure of the length of the contract, but this was at the heels of her debut album, Her Story in the Making, Persona. Now, what differentiates Young M.A from a lot of other artists is her persona. Not only is she a skillful rapper and actually makes good music, but just how she carries herself. She oozes confidence and security, which in turn makes her very charismatic. And as we know, she's not your typical rapper. She's not male, but also compared to female rappers, she's not necessarily feminine. She's truly carved out her own lane, making herself an anomaly. And in general, there's not many rappers that you can compare her to because she's just so drastically different. And it's something that we can definitely learn from her, which is by being yourself, you automatically carve out your own lane because you're literally one of one and no one can be like you. Night Section out.